You are listening to Whispered Truths, where secrets are only whispered in the dark, where stories forgotten by time are brought back to life by the voice of the night. Tonight, we step into a door that has been closed since 1935. The door, numbered 1046, at the President Hotel, Kansas City. A small room, a mysterious man, an unsolved death. And the truth, if it exists, has been buried with the last whisper of the man named Roland T. Owen. Have you ever heard of a story so mysterious, so unexplainable, that even after more than 80 years, no one has been able to make sense of it? In 1935, in Kansas City, USA, there stood a hotel known as the President Hotel, famous for its elegant, classical architecture and frequented by nobles, businessmen, and travelers of high stature. Among them was a man named Roland T. Owen, who checked into room 1046 and left behind a trail of questions that have baffled people ever since. From the very beginning, Roland made strange requests. His room was not to be equipped with a telephone. No one was allowed to call in or out from his room using the hotel line. This puzzled the front desk staff and other guests alike. Why would a stranger make such odd demands? But that was just the beginning of a series of chilling and inexplicable events that would soon follow. Roland T. Owen behaved bizarrely. He often kept his door locked, rarely went out, and his mannerisms and conversations raised concerns about his mental state. At times, he was overheard talking to himself. Other times, he seemed terrified, anxious beyond reason. No one yet knew that behind the door of room 1046 lay a secret that would soon shake the entire city. A storm of questions began to rise. Who was Roland, really? What was he hiding from? Why did he end up brutally injured and ultimately dead in the very room he rented? What about the strange phone calls, the conflicting witness testimonies, and most haunting of all, what was his true identity? Everything was shrouded in a thick fog of mystery. Join me as we step into the shadows of room 1046, uncover the unanswered questions, and try to unravel what really happened to Roland T. Owen, a man who checked in with nothing and left behind one of the most baffling unsolved cases in American history. Roland T. Owen didn't just draw attention with his strange requests upon renting room 1046 at the President Hotel. He truly shocked everyone when he was discovered in a horrifying, severely injured state. One morning in March 1935, hotel staff heard strange noises coming from room 1046. They knocked repeatedly, but received no response. Concerned, an employee was sent to unlock the door using a master key. What they saw left them speechless. Roland was lying on the floor, badly beaten, with blood soaking the bedsheets. He was barely conscious, his body covered in deep bruises and strange wounds. The injuries were unusual: bruises, sharp cuts, and punctures across his body. They didn't resemble typical accident injuries. In fact, there were no external signs of blunt force trauma consistent with a fall or an object hitting him. Doctors who examined him believed he had been through a violent struggle, but the exact cause was hard to determine. On the way to the hospital, Roland was barely coherent. He gave vague, often nonsensical answers. He refused to say what had happened or who had hurt him. Sometimes he spoke as if talking to someone invisible. Other times he was silent, eyes darting nervously as if haunted by something no one else could see. Hotel employees later recalled that Roland rarely left his room. When he did, it was late at night, short walks down the hall before returning quickly. Some guests reported hearing faint shouting or thumping sounds in the night, but no one could say for certain if it had come from room 1046. Witnesses described Roland behaving oddly, often staring blankly at the wall across from his bed as if trying to communicate with something unseen. At times, he would suddenly panic, clutching his head, covering his ears, as though trying to block out terrifying sounds only he could hear. A few hotel workers even claimed they had seen him speaking to someone no one else had ever seen. This mysterious person never appeared outside room 1046. They existed only through vague comments and whispers, as if they were a ghost or an invisible entity haunting him. When the police were called to investigate, they received wildly conflicting statements from the hotel staff. Some believed Roland had been attacked by someone within the hotel. Others suspected he had harmed himself. Several employees insisted they had heard loud crashes, as if something had been broken or a violent fight had occurred inside the room. Housekeeping staff member revealed something particularly chilling. After Roland was taken away, they cleaned room 1046 and found large splatters of blood on the floor, the walls, and even the door. Yet there were no signs of forced entry. Nothing to indicate an outsider had broken in. All the evidence suggested that whatever happened had occurred entirely within the locked room. Doctors remained puzzled. Despite numerous medical tests, they couldn't pinpoint the source or explanation for his injuries. One thing was clear. This was no ordinary accident or mishap inside a hotel room. Even more disturbing, Roland's health began to deteriorate in strange ways. He ran a high fever, struggled to breathe, and grew weaker each day, despite receiving careful medical attention. His pain wasn't only physical. It seemed as though something was tormenting him from within. During his rare lucid moments in the hospital, Roland didn't offer any useful information. Instead, he muttered strange phrases, sobbed quietly to himself, and at times screamed incoherently, as if something within him was screaming to escape. And through it all, he refused to reveal his real identity or why he had come to the President Hotel. He evaded every question about his past, his reason for visiting Kansas City, or whether he had any friends or family. He remained a lonely, enigmatic figure, as if he were on the run from a shadow no one else could see. The mystery only deepened. Why did he refuse to allow phone calls to or from his room? Who or what was he hiding from? And who was the mysterious person he spoke to that no one else ever saw? The staff of the President Hotel, along with the Kansas City police, found themselves entangled in a case that defied logic, haunted by unanswered questions and eerie silences. Was Roland, being hunted? Was he a victim of some unseen assailant lurking in the shadows? Or was he simply lost in a private hell of delusions and memories too painful to escape? And most of all, would he survive long enough to tell the truth? Or was his fate already sealed by forces beyond explanation? In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the mysterious phone calls, the conflicting witness statements, and the haunting secrets hidden within the walls of room 1046. Following the strange circumstances surrounding Roland T. Owen's injuries and health condition, yet another layer of mystery began to emerge, one involving a series of cryptic phone calls that no one could quite explain. Although Roland had requested that room 1046 have no telephone, a number of calls were still somehow linked to that room. Reception staff recalled that despite there being no phone in 1046, they had received several incoming calls to the hotel, apparently asking to speak with Mr. Owen. Yet every time someone tried to connect with room 1046, there was never any response. Even more unsettling outgoing calls were also logged from that very room, at strange hours and without clear purpose. But Roland was believed not to have used the telephone during his stay, and no evidence suggested that he personally made those calls. So then, who made them? Who was on the other end? And more importantly, what were they talking about? These remain some of the most chilling and unanswered questions of the entire case. As police and detectives began questioning the hotel staff, things only got more confusing. Their testimonies were not just inconsistent. They were riddled with contradictions and odd details that made the investigation even murkier. One receptionist claimed he once heard a woman's voice inquiring about room 1046 through the hotel switchboard, but he didn't know who answered. Meanwhile, another staff member insisted that no one could have answered because room 1046 had no telephone at all. This raised suspicions that someone might have been impersonating staff or using the hotel's lines for covert communication, adding to the chaos were the conflicting reports about Roland's behavior during his stay. Some staff said he was polite, calm, and seemed like any normal guest. Others described him as erratic, withdrawn, and even unnervingly angry at times. These contradictory accounts made it nearly impossible for investigators to piece together a reliable profile of who this man really was. More troubling still, Roland T. Owen's true identity couldn't be verified. He left no ID, no official documents, nothing that could confirm where he came from, what he did for a living, or if he had any family. Attempts to trace him through government records or other agencies all led nowhere. It was as if he were a ghost, a man with no name, no past, no trace. Rumors began to circulate through the hotel and even the city. Was Roland a spy? A fugitive on the run? A man with dark secrets chasing or being chased by something we couldn't see? His silence, his paranoia, and his insistence on privacy only fueled increasingly bizarre theories. Some even claimed to have seen him behaving strangely at night, making phone calls on a device no one recognized, or meeting with shadowy figures outside the hotel. But again, there was no proof. No witness could confirm anyone entering or leaving room 1046 suspiciously. The investigation seemed to spiral into a dead end. The more evidence they tried to collect, the less sense it made. Witness accounts clashed, the clues didn't align. And still, those haunting questions echoed. Who was making the calls? Who was answering them? Was some hidden force orchestrating the events that followed? Investigators did find scattered documents in the room, but they were either forged or too obscure to trace. No one could figure out what purpose they served, or why Roland had gone to such lengths to conceal his identity. This mystery felt like a dense fog, slowly swallowing every known fact about the man and his fate. The anonymous phone calls and conflicting testimonies were like puzzle pieces that didn't quite fit, only making the story more baffling and disturbing. To this day, we still don't know if someone was behind the calls, or if Roland T. Owen was the target of a deeper, darker conspiracy. And then, the unthinkable happened. Roland died, taking all of his secrets to the grave, leaving behind a trail of riddles that no one has yet been able to solve. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the final hours of his life, follow the police investigation, and explore the shocking theories that have haunted this case for decades. The most serious event and the pivotal point in the story of Roland T. Owen was his sudden and mysterious death at the President Hotel. After many days of treatment in the hospital, Roland's health steadily deteriorated. He fell into a deep coma from which he never recovered. Then, on a cold April morning in 1935, the doctors confirmed that Roland had passed away. But his death was not as straightforward as a typical medical case. As soon as the news spread, the police conducted a thorough autopsy to determine the cause of death. The results showed that, aside from previous injuries, Roland died from a powerful toxin that caused respiratory and circulatory failure. This toxin was not found in common medical records, and doctors could not precisely identify its origin. What further puzzled investigators and doctors was the contradiction between the physical signs on Roland's body and the toxicology results. The external wounds appeared insufficient to cause such a rapid death, and there was no clear evidence of poisoning through ingestion or injection. Meanwhile, witnesses connected to the hotel and room 1046 continued to provide inconsistent testimonies. Some claimed Roland had a confrontation with a stranger inside the hotel. Others insisted that no one entered his room except medical staff. There were even rumors that in his final days, Roland mentioned a mysterious name. Someone he believed was responsible for his deteriorating condition. But he never revealed who this person was or how they related to the earlier mysterious phone calls. The investigation dragged on for weeks with no clear progress. Police encountered countless dead ends, unable to find any convincing evidence, identifying a perpetrator or motive. The President Hotel tried to remain silent to avoid scandal and protect its reputation. Staff were instructed not to disclose any further information, and many documents related to Room 1046 were confiscated and securely stored. Meanwhile, local media kept reporting, often with speculative and even fanciful commentary. Some newspapers labeled Roland as the mysterious man, the ghost of Room 1046, or a victim of a dark conspiracy. This only deepened the intrigue and public fascination. Several other theories also emerged. Some believed Roland was being watched by secret organizations because he possessed important information. Others thought he might have self-inflicted injuries and poisoning to hide a dark secret. Another hypothesis suggested he suffered from severe depression or schizophrenia, leading to strange behavior and his unusual death. Whatever the theory, Roland T. Owen's death remains an unsolved puzzle. Police had to close the case with many unanswered questions, finding no one legally responsible for his death. But the mystery didn't end there. After Roland's passing, strange events began to occur at the President Hotel related to Room 1046, leading many to believe the room was cursed or haunted by some supernatural force. Hotel staff reported hearing footsteps, arguments, and even screams from Room 1046 on quiet nights. Even though the room was locked and supposedly empty, several guests also reported feeling sudden chills or seeing fleeting shadows near the door. Stories of the ghost of Room 1046 spread far and wide, attracting paranormal investigators and enthusiasts of the mysterious. To this day, Room 1046 remains one of the greatest mysteries in the history of the President Hotel, along with the unanswered questions about the life and death of Roland T. Owen. In the final part, we will review the most controversial theories, possible hidden secrets, and why the Room 1046 case remains one of the most classic unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. The case of Room 1046 remains a baffling mystery, even after nearly a century. Roland T. Owen, a man of unknown background, with a strange death and unanswered questions, has become a legend among the people of Kansas and within detective circles. After Roland's death, police, journalists, and researchers began to propose numerous theories to explain the vague and mismatched pieces of the story. A popular theory is that Roland was not his real name. Many speculated that he was a spy or someone fleeing from a conspiracy. This would explain why he left no identification documents, requested a room without a phone, and maintained a mysterious attitude throughout his stay. Some believed Roland had witnessed or possessed important information related to a criminal organization or the government. The mysterious phone calls and strange behaviors might indicate a secret network operating in the shadows. But if that were true, who was behind it all? Who harmed him? Another theory points to an internal conspiracy within the President Hotel. Perhaps Roland uncovered a horrifying secret there, and someone at the hotel tried to silence him. This would explain the unusual wounds on his body and the conflicting testimonies from hotel staff. A spiritual hypothesis favored by many is that Room 1046 is haunted by a supernatural force. The strange noises and ghostly appearances after Roland's death lead many to believe his spirit could not rest. Some even say they feel Roland's presence whenever they pass by the room, as if it were a desperate plea for help. There are also theories concerning Roland's mental health. Maybe he suffered from a serious psychological disorder that caused self-inflicted injuries and paranoia about phone calls and strangers. But even so, this cannot fully explain the severe wounds and death caused by an unusual toxin. The mysteries surrounding Roland T. Owen and Room 1046 raise many other questions. Who was really calling him? Who answered those calls if the room had no telephone? What was his true purpose in staying at the President Hotel? Who harmed him if this was indeed a murder? And finally, What made Roland's life and death so mysterious? No matter how deeply investigators, journalists, or paranormal enthusiasts have probed, the answers have never surfaced. Room 1046 remains closed, a symbol of mystery and haunting. Years have passed, yet the President Hotel still attracts the curiosity of tourists, researchers, and lovers of mysterious tales. Room 1046 serves as a reminder of a time filled with secrets, a man, and a story never fully revealed. Some believe there may still be secrets hidden within the walls of that room, known only to Roland. Perhaps Roland took the truth to his grave, leaving behind a silent story that fascinates and haunts generations. The case of Room 1046 is not just a tale of a mysterious death, but a symbol of confusion and unsolved secrets in life. It reminds us that not every mystery can be solved. Sometimes it is the unanswered questions that create an irresistible allure. Thank you for following the mysterious story of Roland T. Owen and Room 1046. If you enjoy tales of mystery and the supernatural, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss upcoming videos. See you next time in more stories where unexplored mysteries will be revealed.